Hello believers, thanks for joining me for another audio encounter. This is a podcast where we speak to creative minds about what they like, how they think, and how cult TV has shaped them. Thanks to everyone who listened to the first episode and took time to either get in touch via X, as it's now calling itself, or Instagram or email. I'm back on my daily walk. The weather here in Leith has very much turned to winter, to frost on the ground. It's nice though, it's not raining. That's one thing in its favour. I've got my beanie hat on and my North Face puffer jacket. Standard issue for anyone who lives north of Birmingham in the UK. It's the sound of the plane going overhead. I should say shout out to my mother, who's just had her 65th birthday and overcame a fear to get on a plane for the first time. She went for a week in Malta. Has to be said that although she does conform to a whole range of classic boomer personality traits, you can't blame air traffic fueled climate change on her. So well done mum and happy birthday. Equally as hot as Malta in culture terms, if not temperature terms, is East Anglia, where my guest today will be speaking to me from. It's musician, DJ and writer Danielle Goldstein. Danielle has written for The Guardian, Time Out, NME and Loud Quiet. She's a deputy editor of Jewish Renaissance and she regularly DJs around the UK, as well as sings with the band Collars. We talk about finding your voice, avoiding burnout, the benefits of long distance running, and of course we'll be speaking about The X-Files, and in this case it's season 1 episode 2 entitled Deep Throat. And we do very well not to make a joke about that. If you enjoy the show, do drop us a line at believemepod@gmail.com and like and subscribe and all that game. So without further ado, here's Danielle. Where are you, for a start?
In Norwich.
When did you move there? Is that, it wasn't recent, was it? I mean, I was nosing about on your website and, you know, I think that had gone, you'd said you'd moved to Norwich a while back, but when was that?
Yeah, we've actually moved in May, so not that long ago, really.
What prompted that then?
Just honestly, so before we were in proper rural England in the Fens, East Anglia, kind of Cambridgeshire and Norfolk, and which was great for sort of like rehearsing at home and stuff like that, but also I think we just got a little sick of being isolated. And so through like gigging and stuff, we got to see quite a few different places, and we just really liked Norwich, and we sort of got to know a lot of people here, and the more we came, the more we loved it. So eventually we decided to move.
Is this you and your partner, and are you together with your partner in the band? So this is the band Collars?
Yes, Collars, and yes, we are together as a band and as a couple, which first started, we kept really quiet because we were like, that's not very cool, is it? And there were actually loads of people who were really shocked when they found out.
Right.
We did this interview with a local newspaper in Bury St Edmunds, and they asked us, and we were like, oh well, we are, but we don't like to say that. And then they just straight up put it in the article, and we were like, oh.
So how does it, I mean, how do you find that then, being in is that fairly full on, or how do you find
it? It is full on. Like, it's obviously, it's got its pros and cons. So like pros, super easy to schedule stuff and rehearse, and you don't have to worry about being away because we're always away together. But then, yeah, it's stressful because it's like all of our personal work, the balance between personal life and work life gets really blurred, and you can very easily find yourself working all the time.
Oh, so what came first then? Were you together and then you started a band, or because I remember like this must have been about 8 years ago or so. You'd put a notice up, or you were looking to get a band together in the Cambridge area. So did you get together and then you started a band, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, well remembered. It wasn't that long ago, but
I know I lose track. I'm just the memory shot now.
no, it was like maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, because the original, so Kane's a drummer. The original plan was he drums, I sing, we get a guitarist. But then I think maybe given our super rural location and we didn't know anyone in the scene, in any of the scenes yet, we just couldn't find someone. So Kane started playing, he played guitar. We did a bunch of open mic nights, playing acoustically, just completely getting drowned out, people chatting over it. It's really demoralizing. Anyone who's ever been in a band will know. And so Kane was like, oh, I wish I could just hit something to like make people listen. So he came up with this, he just basically turned like oh god, I've got to try and think of what the drum pieces are called. I think turned a floor tom on its side and had a little snare. How did he play the snare initially? He somehow put that on its side too, and kind of put a really simple beat under what he was playing on guitar. And then that just grew and grew, and he cut up a lot of his old drum kit, resoldered it back together to make some kind of Frankenstein thing that we now play with.
Fantastic. So that leaves you to you just stalk the stage and
also I can't play anything else. So I mean, honestly, if I could play guitar, or I'd be we tried briefly me playing bass, but I was rubbish at it. And I play a little Korg synthesizer, but not too much, because we've kind of, again, toyed with that balance of having even more in the live sound versus running around like a maniac. And I think we kind of worked out that me running around like a maniac was more beneficial than adding a bit more synth. So yeah, on like the album and on like the recordings, you'll hear a lot more sort of like synth and stuff, but live we don't play at all.
And what's the writing process like then? Are you busy beavering away, coming up with lyrics, and then you bring those to band rehearsals, or is it?
Right, actually, kind of. So I actually write the lyrics and the vocal melody. Like, so most of the time, this is how we do it. Very occasionally, we'll sort of sit together and just try and, jam something out. But most of the time, I write the lyrics and a vocal melody, and it could be like almost a whole song, so like verse, chorus, mid, late, outro sort of thing.
Right.
And then Kane will write the instrumental parts to that. Yeah, and actually, most of the time it's that, or it will just be sort of like verse, chorus, and then Kane will be like, oh, I've had an idea for like mid, late, or whatever, something like that.
Was there a point when you were kind of you were sort of not sat around, but you'd gone, right, I'm going to be in a band now? What was that sort of moment like? And did it just come to you out of the blue, or was it something you wanted to do for a while?
Well, as you know, obviously I've known you a long time. I'm a music journalist, so I've always loved music, and it's not that like I've never wanted to be in a band. I've just never been able to do anything. Like, I tried playing drums a little bit when I was a teenager, but I think I just didn't have the patience to like stick with it. And I never even considered singing. I didn't think that I'd be able to do that. So I just thought, oh, okay, I'm going to go in another direction and go through journalism instead. And then, literally never even considered it until Kane was writing some stuff. And he just asked if I would maybe try singing on it. I felt majorly awkward, and it took me ages to like sort of pluck up the courage to do it, but finally did it. And then after a bit I was just like, yeah, I really like this actually, and I don't want to sing what you're doing, I want to do my own stuff. So
I mean, how has that influenced your day-to-day life? Because do you feel like a need to present yourself, as for want of a better word, as sort of, not, I don't want to say rock star, but a sort of, do you need to present yourself, as it like a musician at all times?
It's sort of funny you say that, because I think it just took me a while to figure out exactly what sort of suited me, and just exploring fashion generally. But also, yeah, I think it was as soon as I'd been on stage, like got used to being on stage, suddenly doing other stuff didn't seem that scary anymore. It's like I'd already got over the fear of the thing I found the most terrifying, which is bearing your soul to a group of strangers on a stage. And yeah, so suddenly it was like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna dye my hair green and I'm gonna wear whatever I want. And it's just suddenly that didn't seem so daunting.
And what's it like for, you mentioned playing to sort of 5 people in a pub, and I can certainly identify with that.
I never said 5 people.
Did you not? Oh, sorry, maybe I just.
No, you're totally right though. I've also played to no one, so yeah.
Sure. I mean, what is the live music scene like in Norwich, and what's it like as a sort of touring musician? Because I know you obviously the last couple of years has been really tough for bands, and not that you've gone into this to make millions of pounds, but how do bands make things work these days? And are you more interested in being a live act or or a recorded act, or is it both the same thing in your mind?
I think it's both the same thing. But I do love playing live. Like that is definitely my favorite part, and my least favorite part is writing new stuff, which sounds a bit like counteractive, because how would I have something to play if I didn't write it? But it's just once you've got something and then you learn it and you hone it and then you can perform it really well, that's just such a good feeling. And the stages of trying to get to that point where you've got to learn it and you keep making mistakes and things like that, it's hence why I like playing live the most. The scene in Norwich and in East Anglia generally is really good, like really, really good. I kind of feel like it's almost a shame that we're out of the way on this little, what my dad likes to call the bum of England. Yeah, because obviously a lot of touring bands don't come out to Norwich. They almost don't even always go to Cambridge. They'll go to Cambridge, but they won't come out to Norwich often. And yeah, it's such a good scene with 2 universities, and everyone's really keen. It's way better than Cambridge, and I can say that because we were previously sort of Cambridgeshire based and closer to Cambridge. The scene there, although good, and they've got good venues, of course, but there's not as many Cambridge bands coming out of Cambridge, considering that it's also has 2 universities. I think students there are maybe more concerned with studying than they are here, but it's definitely the wrong way to do university. What are they playing at? Obviously, I am a journalist by day. I'm deputy editor at a magazine called Jewish Renaissance, and we are kind of like a Jewish timeout. It's all stuff from the cultural world, everything that you would do in your spare time. We write about that, but with a sort of Jewish bent. Then if we have a gig, I will probably try and clock off early, rush to sound check, and then wait around for ages until we play.
Yeah, it's finding what to do, in that period, isn't it, between sound check and actually going on.
Part of being in a band is just hanging around. There's so much hanging around. It's never. I feel like until you're in a band, you have no idea. I've been around bands a lot for a lot of my life, and I also still had no idea about this.
Yeah, I find, and this is probably difficult if you're in your relationship with someone in a band, is I just have to get out of the way, because I just did not want to look at those other people, any more than you've driven there, you've exhausted all the chat. I don't consider myself the most talkative person anyway. And then you just staring at the same people. Then I know people who are like, "Oh, let's go and have a drink, or let's go and have get some chips before we go on." I was like, "Nah, I've got to have some time on my own." Way.
No, might be on your own there.
Yeah, I'll just listen through. But do you find, given the focus of the magazine, are you finding at the moment people are asking your opinion on what's going on in Israel and Gaza? And I went on the website and I saw that there's a really nice message on there, and you were pointing to different blogs that people could read and pick up on. But do you find you're like Mrs. Judaism, that people are coming to go, "Oh, what does Danielle think about this?" Are you finding that?
Well, thankfully, no one's really asking my opinion, but everyone is asking if I'm okay, which is nice, I suppose. And yeah, something I hadn't really when it first happened, when the festival incident happened, I wasn't as I guess I just had no idea it was going to sort of unfurl into this horror that we're seeing now. And people were asking me if I was okay then. I was like, yeah, fine. I don't know anyone there. It still seemed like as far removed as any other kind of international event. I mean, like news story. And also, I'm not a news. I'm just not into news. I don't really watch it or listen to it. So obviously, I hear things that are going on, and I do listen to the radio, so I hear bulletins. But yeah, I never really concerned myself with news. And then suddenly, it was just becoming more and more. And it was, even though we're a cultural magazine, we were also kind of like, we're not going to take a political stance on it, but it's also weird to say nothing. Why we took the approach we did to invite like just important voices from the cultural scene to have their say on it.
And would you even identify as, do you feel Jewish? Do you identify as Jewish or?
Yeah, I do, but not religiously. And my family's, well, actually not all my family. Some of my family are religiously Jewish, but not my immediate family. And yeah, so I definitely identify as Jewish, but more culturally than, and on a community basis than religiously. You know, that's like a big part of Judaism as well. There will obviously be branches of Judaism that would consider me not Jewish, especially as it's my dad who's Jewish and not my mum, but I don't. And you know, liberal and reform branches of Judaism would consider me Jewish too. So, and also Hitler would. So there we go.
First Hitler mention, so well done for that. Straight in there. So, I mean, so how do you feel, like, you know, international politics aside, how are you in yourself at the minute mentally? Do you feel in a good place?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm quite a sort of laid back person. I think generally a lot of stuff doesn't sort of faze me, but I mean, maybe that's because I sometimes think I don't I miss stuff. So even if like somebody was, say, insulting me or something, you know, like I was in a situation like that, I could easily sort of miss it and just be like, and just, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I think maybe I don't pay attention enough, but yeah, I'm still totally fine. I mean, Ken, my partner, he definitely struggles with stuff a lot more, and he won't mind me saying this because it is out in the world already. But last year, when we were touring, trying to promote the album, we'd booked like a pretty hefty tour for the autumn and winter, and which is just FYI, like the worst time to be touring. It's absolutely freezing to sleep in a van, I'll tell you that. But yeah, it just got a bit much playing like so many dates, and then also the thing is we still have day jobs, so, and it all just took its toll, and Kane definitely couldn't handle it, and we had to cancel. We in fact only cancelled one show, which is pretty incredible considering, but yeah, and we just realized then that you can't push yourself too hard. We really try and force ourselves to take a step back now. So we actually we book in gigs in our sort of like our Google Calendar. They all go in blue. We also put in points, weekends and whatever, where it's just like no gigs, don't book anything. And we put those in blue too, just so that our brains are like, oh yeah, there's something there already. Yeah, so that's the way we've sort of dealt with it, to force time off, which is really, really necessary. And you need it more often than you think you do.
Because I was going to ask about any sort of processes you've put in place to, you know, give yourself time away or kind of downtime. And you ran the marathon last year, or was it this year? This year. Where did that idea come from? And have you always been a runner? And do you find kind of mental clarity in running?
Yeah, I'm actually quite interested to talk to you about this because you also ran a marathon this year, didn't you?
I did.
So yeah, I have been a runner for a long time. I love running. It completely clears out my head. I love listening to a podcast when I'm running because I love long distance. I just settle into a really steady pace straight away. I'm very much the tortoise. I can keep going, but I'll be pretty slow.
Great.
Yeah, I love it. And I've actually been applying to the London Marathon for almost a decade. That was my 9th year applying, and I've been rejected every year. And then last year I got the email and it just said you're in. And I was like, oh my God, wait, what? I wasn't running all the time anymore, so I really had to dive back in. But I try and do like a half marathon every now and then. In fact, I just did one in Kent in September.
Do you have like a whole, I mean, how often would you go out running, and is it a set thing, or do you just get to a stage in the week where you think, oh, I feel like I fancy a run?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a bit of a fair weather runner, so I don't like running in winter. I do have a treadmill, so I will use that as well.
I need to get on that, because I was thinking, two birds, one stone. I feel the weight of films I need to watch, and also if you sign up to an app like Letterboxd, it's like, oh God, on my watch list on Letterboxd now is 3,000 films. And I was like, when am I going to get through this? Maybe if I could combine the running and watching a film. I know it's like totally like not why people get to running, but maybe there's something in that. So
I 100% recommend that. I love doing that. Yeah, I've got a treadmill that you can balance a tablet on. This is an insight into my psyche that I don't especially want to reveal, but I'm going to. I got really into I can't believe I can't remember the name of it now. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, basically it would be a couple where one of them really wants to get married and the other one doesn't, and so they put them all together. Then they like pick who else they want to swap with, essentially, and then they do like 3 weeks of a trial marriage with the other partner, and then they swap back to their original partner and do another 3 weeks to see if at the end they want to stay together or not. And I got really obsessed with that, so I was watching that a lot on the treadmill.
Oh my goodness! I mean, that must wreck lives.
I know. A lot of them didn't stay together.
Goodness me.
Also, the crazy thing is, a lot of them were like 23. And you're like, oh, just calm down. Don't worry about it. Why are you thinking about getting married now?
Yeah. And just time flies by for me now, and it worries me how fast time's flying. Do you still feel, because in my head I'm still like 18, do you still feel like that, or do you feel, how do you feel?
No, I think I still feel, or maybe not 18, but I still feel like 22, I think, in my head. I'm not gonna reveal to listeners exactly how old I am, but
no, don't do that thing with the singer of the Ting Tings, made out she was like 25 for like 50 years. That's fine.
You know what? I always wondered about that, because I always did think they looked quite old.
Yeah, there was a thing on like Never Mind the Buzzcocks, wasn't there? Who said that? Who was on that? Oh, it was Nick Grimshaw, and he was like in a northern accent, was like, she reckons she's 32.
I don't know. I'd like to think that we hopefully don't seem that old. I mean, a lot of the people we've met and when we told them our age seem shocked, so I'm hoping that's a good sign, that we don't see, no one watches us and thinks, oh, they're too old to be like, prancing around on stage. Not that there's an age limit, obviously, but there's definitely some people we've met who are younger than us or our age who I definitely have thought are much older. There's like a different breed of people who age very, very quickly. Like sometimes you meet a sort of 25-year-old and they look like they're 35. I feel so sorry for those people.
Yeah, it's a state of mind, though, isn't it? I guess it's a state of mind.
Sure, yeah.
When I emailed you about this, you said that coming on the podcast, you said you had been to an X-Files all-nighter. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Genesis in Whitechapel. Yeah, and actually we went to that. I mean, I do really like X-Files, and I remember it from when I was a kid, and I was really obsessed with it then. My mum really loved it too, so we would watch it together. There's a lot of things I watched that I just don't really remember. I can have watched it last week and still not remember what happened in the episode. Yeah, I think there's just some people who have that kind of brain that can remember everything, and it helps when you watch it obsessively.
Yeah, we watched season 1, episode 2, which is called Deep Throat.
I missed the.
It's a problematic title, isn't it? But that is the character played by Jerry Hardin, who's a sort of informant character in it, and I'm surprised no one at the time made have said, "Hang on, why is he called that?" It felt to me watching this one that it very much like an extension of the first episode, that you're still in They're still setting up all this mythology about the X-Files, and we were in kind of Idaho, this sort of suburban area where these armed military police are kind of a SWAT team are storming this suburban house. This is how it opens, and one of the officers is explaining to the homeowner that her husband has commandeered this military vehicle and might be armed, and they've got to take him down. And the SWAT team smash in through the house, through the bedroom door, and then they find the husband is there upstairs on the bedroom floor, shaking, covered in third-degree burns. And then so it's a classic sort of X-Files cold open. And then this is because there's episode 2. Then this is the first time we get the X-Files intro as well, with that lovely Mark Snow music. But I mean, what were your thoughts going into it, and what did you think about the episode?
I didn't realize that the theme tune wasn't on the first episode.
You just get the title card, so you get like X-Files, and then you get the following is based on actual events, which are debate, but yeah.
Oh, I would assume that was that also was just part of the show, as in it's not based on actual events.
No, they just sell you that, don't they? And you go, oh right.
Yeah, I do love that theme tune though. Sorry, I will come back to the episode. Always makes me think of Mr. Burns coming out like glowing in The Simpsons. I can't not think of that whenever I hear it.
He got released, didn't it? I remember they did like a dance track version of it.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, it was around the same time as that song, that Robert Miles song, Children. So everybody was into that, a bit of piano trance.
I see. Wow. Okay. I missed that. The episode though, I was that beginning scene. I perhaps rather foolishly was eating a Mackie D's at the time, and it like the camera panned around to the guy who actually I thought was covered in like something scabby. I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't be eating right now. The one thing that struck me, because I haven't really, other than that all-nighter, I haven't watched X-Files in ages, was that how it was like a little bit shoddy. Like I love David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, and now like in other stuff I've seen them in. I was like, they're not amazing right now. I'm not like totally believing them, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I can see how it is totally, a cult.
Well, I guess maybe they were still finding their feet in these early ones a bit. And you got this thing where after you've had that cold open, you've got Mulder meeting Scully in a bar, and Mulder gets very close. So I'm kind of watching it for when they bring in this romance between them.
They start hinting at that straight from
but because coming off the first episode, it's the sort of beginnings of a relationship between them, but also I guess Scully siding with Mulder a bit on stuff, because she is like she's supposed to be the skeptic of the two. And also we get Seth Green in this episode.
I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, who apparently had never touched weed before he did this episode at all. So he maintained at the time that he'd never smoked weed. He never didn't even know what cannabis was, and then he just gets typecast to these kind of stoner characters. Then he met David Duchovny, and the rest is history. Duchovny is now a musician. I don't know if you've been following his music career, have you?
No.
He's playing Edinburgh in a couple of weeks.
Well, are you gonna go?
Do you know what? I don't know what the reason would be, because I bet you can guess what his music sounds like.
Yeah, I just feel like it would be dad rock. It's not going to be.
You have hit the nail on the head there. It's you could file it under Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. And Russell Crowe.
Yes, Crowe. Yeah, it's a kind of country rock that he's singing in a sort of affected accent about love lost and out on the range and all that sort of nonsense.
No.
I feel like it's an unfair one for you to watch, actually, because it wasn't the first one, so it did not set stuff up. And it's the aliens, which I think are the most boring thing. So maybe if you'd have watched like a Monster of the Week type one, which is a kind of self-contained episode, then maybe you would have been a bit more buoyant.
It's really early still as well, so it's cool to like the X-Files. It's cool to be obsessed with the X-Files, but I'm just not. I mean, I definitely had a massive crush on David Duchovny back in the day, and can safely say still a babe. But yeah, no. Californication, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I never got on that. What was that then?
Have you not seen that?
No, I've not watched it, no.
Oh, I highly recommend it. You'll definitely like it. But David Duchovny basically plays like a bit of a waster. Everyone's on at him. You know, he's always letting everyone down. His ex-wife and does he have a kid? I think he has a kid. I can't quite remember now. But it's just really funny and it's like really smart writing.
Oh yeah, I sort of vaguely remember it. That must have been before they brought the X-Files back and did this like latest season.
Yeah, it must have been before that. It was a while ago. Right, I'll tell you what, I'll look it up. The other thing I looked up, just to reference back to our conversation earlier, is The Ultimatum. That's what that Netflix show was called.
The Ultimatum, right?
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that because I do need the sort of TV to sort of just switch off and be totally mindless.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect for that. Californication came out in 2007, ages ago.
Yes, right. It was then because X-Files came back in like 2017, 18, quite recently. What I'd be interested to hear more about from Duchovny is his stint on the early 90s soft porn show Red Shoe Diaries, which was an absolute banger. Are you aware of that one?
No, I'm not.
I would say check it out, but it's probably irredeemable by today's standards. It probably was back then and all, and certainly played. He played late night on Channel 5, and Duchovny was never involved in any of the sort of riskier scenes, but he acted like a kind of narrator, and he'd introduce, I've received this letter about such and such, and then you'd get cut to somebody's fantasy about something. And there was a little dog in it as well. I don't know if he's disowned that now, but come on, Duchovny, let's have you do a bit more Red Shoe Diaries. I think that's what the world needs, given there seems to be a sort of a shift against the erotic thriller at the moment. No one wants to embrace the erotic thriller, so I think Duchovny is the man to bring it back.
I feel like the world could just do with a little bit of the early days of Channel 5 when it was just like a soft porn channel. You know, just like really gentle stuff. Just, yeah, none of like, I'm not, you know, nothing against anything weird or hardcore or, you know, each to their own. I just feel like it's chucked at us from all sides now. And it's like, oh, I remember when there was just some really, really lovely porn on this new channel.
Yeah, quaint, soft focused.
Yeah.
We can all have a jolly good time. That's something to end on, isn't it? Believe Me is written and edited by me, Chris Boyd, with production support from Steve Marshall. The music is by Johnny Boyle, and our logo is by Russ Brown. See you out there next time.